Hey gang, any fantasy nerd worth their weight in gold knows that dragons are renowned for terrifying breath weapons. Fire, lightning, noxious gas, we've seen it all in Magic the Gathering over the years, but finally, WotC had the courage to unleash the most dangerous weapon of all, debate. Is that a real thing? What the f? Welcome to Head Games?
Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Zombie Apocalypse, and I was on the debate team in high school. They called me Steve the Disputant.
Hey gang, Jet here, proud member of Silverquill School for my utter inability to shut up, but my heart will always be in Witherbloom. My school badge says Tim, for some reason.
You know, I love the fact that you never shut up, Tim.
That makes one of us.
Thank you for joining us today on the Head Games Commander podcast, where we spotlight some of our favorite commanders from all of Magic the Gathering. But before we get started, we're going to have a debate, you and I, right now. And the debate is, why aren't you clicking on the subscribe button already? And it costs you nothing. You should just do it. It's free.
Nothing.
And there's no good answer. There's no good retort. So I've already won this debate. That's why they called me Steve the Dispute.
Slam dunk.
I'll take my bows now.
I feel like I'm going to do nothing but awkward sports metaphors today, like because debate is such. I actually know nothing about it.
Neither
so
do
I can't make good, funny references to the debate team, even though I'm going to try a bunch of times. So apologies all around.
Anyway, Tim, who are we shining our spotlight on today?
Today, if you hadn't guessed already, we are spotlighting Silverquill, the Disputant.
Animation.
In this episode, we'll describe the deck strategy, share what we love about the commander, highlight some of our favorite cards. You know how we do.
So today's deck was built to by our good friend Tim. This is from the Strixhaven's main set. And who is it and what's the bracket talk?
Silverquill the Disputant is a 4-mana Elder Dragon. It's 2, a white and a black for 4/4. It has flying and vigilance, which is actually quite relevant because it can be a threat on board. But it, like all of the cycle of Elder Dragons in Secrets of Strixhaven, makes all of your instants and sorceries do something they're not normally supposed to. And in this case, it gives them all casualty. What that means is as you cast that spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 1 or greater, which is every creature in the deck. By the way, there's no walls in here. When you do copy the spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So the game plan here is get disposable 1/1s onto the board, cast fun instants and sorceries, sacrifice those instants and sorceries to get double the value out of them. So kind of a token strategy, very much a go wide strategy, but ultimately a cast big white and black spells. But as you'll quickly discover, white and black spells usually do a very narrow number of things. So really, we're going to make tokens, and we're going to make tokens, and we're going to make tokens.
Oh, and don't forget, we're going to murder things. We're going
to murder things. We're going to murder things and destroy them in a whole bunch of different ways. So really, as far as the bracket talk goes, I would say this is pretty firmly a bracket 3. It doesn't have a single game changer in it. I don't think it even has anything that's like remotely overpowered. I think that a lot of the stuff in here you would see in a standard bracket 3 list. There may be an exception or two in here, but again, not a single game changer. No looping no looping and extra turn spells or anything like that. So I think it falls pretty firmly into that. And as far as my rule 0 goes, like, you know what the deck is trying to do. I'm trying to make tokens. I'm trying to get my commander out and then get extra value from the instants and sorceries I cast. So pretty straightforward as far as that goes.
I do have actually one rules question before we get started. If you counter the original spell, does it counter the copy as well?
I mean, the copy will already be on the stack.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure because like if you copy a spell with a fork or something, but then you counter the original spell, it gets rid of the fork as well. I guess that's because it's targeting the spell. I answered my own question.
Yes. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, as far as I can, and I'm not a judge, I just know how this has played out for me, and I have played a version of this deck on Arena, so I've kind of seen how that client treats this ability, and really, by the time your opponent is given priority, both copies of the spell are on the stack. So there really isn't anything to do. I mean, but you can interact with both of the spells at that point. But yeah, you're gonna get both of them as long as your commander is in play as you're casting the spell.
Man, that makes it way more tricky for us blue players over here.
Aw.
Anywho, so now that we kind of gone over the bracket talk and everything like that, I'm really interested to hear the strengths and weaknesses from you, Tim. So why don't you go ahead and go into that for me real quick?
Sure. I'll go first, even though that's not what it says.
No, I know I'm bad at this game.
So first off, Orzhov, this color pairing has excellent interaction, which I just think is a strength. Whenever I find myself building an Orzhov deck, I have no problem finding all of the interactive pieces that I want, because it does just about everything that I want in an interactive piece. So I think that that's a remarkable strength, and especially considering that I built the deck to get more value out of those spells. I think that token strategies are really good at gumming up the board and slowing the game down. So even against, other decks where the creatures are perhaps bigger, unless those creatures have trample, it doesn't matter, because I'm going to have such an enormous amount of tokens that it makes it easy for me to kind of play defense. There's also a fair amount of instants in the deck and instant token generators, so I may be able to kind of turn combat in my favor as a result of that. Once this deck is set up, once I have like a kind of a critical mass of tokens, it really goes over the top very quickly. All I need is one resolution of a big powerful spell, and suddenly I have such an enormous amount of value, which is kind of what Commander does, in fairness. That's what most decks do in the format. And another strength to this list, as far as I'm concerned, is that I get to play with a bunch of cards that I might never otherwise play with, and I love that about it. I have an Orzhov list in paper, my Rada Drabic deck, which I'm incredibly fond of and will probably never tear apart. It's one of my favorite decks. So I usually don't build more than one paper deck of the same color combination. So getting to theory craft this deck and getting to play with it on Spell Table and on Moxfield has been very rewarding, because I just get to do things that I don't normally get to do. As far as weaknesses go, the deck has a wrong half of the deck problem. Just like a lot of things like this, because you need the right blend of token creators and then things to do with those tokens. So if you end up with all token creators or all payoffs, it's just gonna feel bad. It's great when you have spells that do both, and there are a fair number of those in the deck, but still very prone to the wrong half of the deck problem. The commander doesn't have any built-in interaction, or I'm sorry, he doesn't have any built-in protection, so it's very vulnerable to removal. And again, at 4/4, it's not like an enormous creature, so there's plenty of things that can take it out. So I think it's just kind of vulnerable as far as commanders go, and all of the ramp, almost all of it, with I think one notable exception, is artifact based. So that actually disincentivizes me from playing some spells I might otherwise play. And also, if I run afoul of artifact destruction or repeatable artifact destruction, they're going to be able to keep me in check from a mana standpoint.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So here's one of the strengths that I thought the deck had. I think it's your commander isn't super important to your game plan. It just makes your game plan go to 11, because all your spells are solid enough that you're okay with playing them once. You don't necessarily need that second copy for your deck to do what it needs to do. But once you have that capability of just doubling everything you're casting, makes it just sky high. So as I said, you don't really need your commander, and that's something that I sometimes like about a game, where it's like, okay, I'm not turn 3, I'm not playing my commander every game because you don't need to. Honestly, this is a turn 6 or turn 7 commander because you want to be able to play your commander and then copy the spell the same turn. So
that's exactly right.
So you don't necessarily need it on turn 4. And that's something that's nice that lets you have these really good 4 drops in here that you necessarily wouldn't want to run in a deck where I need my commander on turn 3. That's a 4 drop.
Yeah.
So what a great strength. Something that I really do like. And with the amount of card draw that is attached to instants and sorceries, since you are copying those, it's hard to run out of gas.
And they're cheap. A lot of the like, good ones are very cheap mana cost wise. Yep.
Like it seems like this deck's going to be very difficult to run out of steam. So, but I will say the weaknesses of the deck are similar to all the go wide strategies. Taxing your creatures to attack is going to be something you're not going to want to deal with. Just crazy amounts of boards wipes over and over and over again is another problem that you're going to run with. But the go wide strategy does well for a reason. So yes, these are weaknesses, but these are weaknesses that you are pretty good at overcoming with the copying of your spells and stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that you made some excellent points here. And even like the board wipe vulnerability, the creatures are often very small. Most of the creatures are very small, at least early on. So even like single, 1 or 2 damage across the board is going to wipe my board out in a way that it might not wipe other people's boards out. So there is a level of vulnerability there, but it's kind of counteracted by the fact that on your end step, I may be casting an instant that just renews my whole board anyway. And sometimes because of the cards in the deck, my board getting wiped is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. Now, one thing that I will say that's kind of nice is with your token deck, all your tokens are different. So things that will destroy something with all the same name, because you do run into them every once in a while because tokens are a thing. And a lot of token decks are like, I want 1,000,000 1/1 sapling tokens. I want 1,000,000 soldier tokens or whatever kindred that you're trying to follow. And having just the best of all of these just makes your deck hum, which is really nice.
To say that like that was my favorite part about playing it on Moxfield instead of in paper it really is. It's because there are so many different individual tokens that I think that it's almost preferable to play it on Moxfield because you get to generate the tokens instead of drawing them on infinite tokens or keeping all the different kinds around. This would be very fussy to play in paper. So add that to the weaknesses.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and go into what we call the basics. These are the card categories that almost every commander deck wants to just have a consistent time. Think of these as the fundamentals, the kind of cards that need to be played so you can have a game plan, right? So Tim is going to give us the stats and the number of them, and then we're going to dive into cards that we want to talk about.
Okay, here are the basics. In card draw, I've got 15. Ramp, I've got 10. Single targeted interaction, I have 13. Mass interaction, I have 6. So we're going to move through each of the basic categories: card draw, ramp, single target interaction, the mass interaction. We're each going to share a card that we like from the list that I think stands out because of the way that it interacts. So I'll let Steve go first in the card draw category. What did you pick?
Okay, so I picked this card because it's more funny and fun. And a lot of people are going to choose this one. It is Tempt with Bunnies. It is a 3 mana. It's a 3 mana sorcery, 2 and a white. It says Tempting Offer. It says draw a card and create a 1/1 rabbit. Then each opponent may draw a card and create a 1/1 rabbit. For each opponent who does, you draw a card and create another 1/1 rabbit. So 90% of the time, it is going to be you make 4 rabbits and you're going to draw 4 cards. 90% of the time. Which for 3 mana is absolutely insane.
So great.
And And who would say no to? Look at the cute bunnies. Look at it right
you
there.
get a card.
Sorry,
you want a
right there.
card, don't
Look
you?
at it right there.
Yeah.
It's so dang cute.
You want a card, don't you? And a bunny? It's a great offer. It's a very tempting offer.
So I am going to say the public service announcement right here, folks. Always say no to tempting offers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I might not say no every time, but you should.
But you should.
It's do as I say, not as I do. Okay.
Yeah. Here, take my advice. I'm not using it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
What card did you pick, Tim?
So this is our new favorite, and by ours, I mean everybody who has played with this card, because we have all decided that it is amazing. The card is from Secrets of Strixhaven. It's Decorum Dissertation. This is the Black Paradigm spell. It's 5 mana for a sorcery. It's a lesson, but that doesn't matter here. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life, and it also has Paradigm, which means that then exile the spell. After you first resolve a spell with this name, you may cast a copy of it from exile without paying its mana cost at the beginning of each of your first main phases. So this is our fixed epic mechanic, where you get a spell forever once you've successfully resolved it the first time, and it's so awesome in this deck. Like being able to draw an additional 2 cards each turn for the low cost of 2 life is, and the fact that it's on a sorcery that you can potentially copy is amazing. I love this card just in general, particularly in this list.
So can you casualty it on your upkeep afterwards too?
Yes, I believe that you can. So as you cast a spell, so you're still casting the spell. You're casting a copy of the spell. After you resolve it, you may cast a copy of it from exile without paying its mana cost, which means you can pay additional costs like casualty costs. So I'm fairly certain the answer is yes. Yes.
So there's something that I want to mention about this card. We used to love Phyrexian Arena, which is a 3 mana. You draw an extra card on your turn and you lose a life. It costs 3.
Yep.
This, for only 2 more mana, you're immediately drawing cards, and then it's 2 Phyrexian Arenas every turn.
Yep.
Power creep's a thing, and makes me sad a little bit. Because I like some of these old cards. Like, I have a beautiful Phyrexian Arena in my Garth deck. Just because it's beautiful. Not because it's great. Because it's beautiful. And I just want to replace it.
Decks that want that card. There are still decks that want Phyrexian Arena, and really, it is a little. It's different enough to warrant conversation. That Phyrexian Arena costs 3. It is a permanent. It is an enchantment. There are aspects of it that are lower to the ground and better for those reasons. You're not like, and again, like committing a whole turn, like 5 mana to getting 2 additional cards this turn. If it gets countered, it's a big feel bad. You just wasted a whole turn. So there's definitely an argument that the Phyrexian Arena still has some edge on this in some categories, but in a lot of lists, especially in Commander, this is going to play a little bit better.
I was about to say, here's my argument to that though. Phyrexian Arena can be interacted with later, where this really can't, unless if you're just going to counter it every turn or counter the initial. Right.
But what I'm saying is Phyrexian Arena is still cheaper. Like, just from a mana value standpoint, it still hits the board earlier. And like, in Commander, you're talking about getting a Phyrexian Arena on 2. So the incremental value that you get from that over time is still faster. This is like, the ceiling of this is higher, but the cost to get to it to begin with is also higher. So is it better? It is fair to say that it's different and it is more powerful, but it is also more expensive. So you get what you pay for.
Sure.
It's an amazing card.
Such a good card. Alrighty, so we're going to dive deep into the ramp section. And I picked... Huh?
It's not that deep.
No, it's definitely not. But I wanted to say it was deep because I like this card a lot, and it works really, really well with your with your deck that you got going on here, and it is Pitiless Plunder. Anyone who played an Aristocrat deck knows this card, but I'm going to tell you what it is anyway because I don't play Aristocrats all that much. It is 3 and a black for a human pirate. It's a 1/4, which I guess matters. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token that can tap and sacrifice for mana. So your creatures are like, this will storm you off, right? I am a huge fan of Storm. I love playing a lot of spells in one turn and not caring what anyone else is doing. This kind of like accelerates you because you're going to, oh gosh, even if you had like Warren Soul Tender out too. Oh, gross.
Yep.
But,
or Ashnod's Altar.
So like, you're going to already make a lot of creature tokens. You're already going to want them to die anyway. Why not get a really solid benefit in return with lots of mana to let you draw more cards and do more things? And what do I tell people? Every time you want to win a game of Magic, you need to draw more cards and you need to play more spells. And this will do it for you. Well, it will do the play more spells part. So, love this card. I want 1 million copies now.
It's cheaper now. It used to be a $10+ card, and they reprinted it a little, so now you can get it for somewhere around 6 or 7. So that's not so
exciting.
bad.
So I definitely want 1 million copies because I don't have $6 million to throw at just Pitiless Plunder. All right, Tim. What did you pick?
So I picked Pearl Medallion. For the unfamiliar, there's a whole medallion cycle, one for each color, that costs 2 generic mana to cast, and whatever color it is that they're representing, those spells cost 1 less to cast. So Pearl Medallion, 2 colorless to cast it. White spells you cast cost 1 less cost 1 less. So I really wanted to bring this up because I'm becoming more and more a fan of these cards. Like, I think that in a lot of lists, I end up just kind of immediately, falling into Signets and obviously Soul Ring and what's the other ones?
Arcane Signet.
Talismans.
Yep, and the talismans.
Yeah, so I find myself gravitating towards those more and more often, and I totally forget that the medallions exist. And in a list like this, the medallions are better. Because really, as you said, there are definitely turns where I am actually looking to play a bunch of spells, sacrifice my creatures, get more mana, do it again. And so that incremental value that I'm getting from the medallions is far, far higher than the single mana that a Signet is going to produce. So
I was about to say, the time the moment that you get a second mana from it in a single turn, you've already done better than what a Signet can do and what Talisman can do. So
right. And the number of colorless permanents in this deck is 8. So really, white is the dominant color here. So I chose the white one as the one that I wanted to talk about here, because if I get this spell early in the game, it is going to have a gigantic impact on my game. So I think that as far as ramp goes, if you're opening up a hand, one of the medallions is going to be a good start just about every time.
And let's make this perfectly clear. Jet Medallion is also in the list too. And both of them are going to just do so much work because you're going to, part of the goal is, after you have a lot of creatures out, is to cast more than one spell at a time to either get more creatures or draw cards for those creatures and so on and so forth. So, really good pick. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the single targeted interaction. And I didn't know this card existed until I looked at this list. And let's make this perfectly clear. It's not the most amazing thing ever, but what I like about it is it goes really, really well with your commander, and that is Seasons of the Borrow. It turns out I really like Bloom Borrow, and I didn't know it until today.
Yep.
So Seasons of the Borrow is a 5-mana sorcery, and it gives you up to 5 calls worth of modes that you can choose, and you can choose the same mode. The first mode is 1 paw to create 1 white 1/1 rabbit creature token. 2 paws, you can exile target non-land permanent. Its controller draws a card. And then for 3 paws, you can return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with indestructible counter on it. So, just to be clear, when you copy this with Casualty, you don't have to choose the same modes. Is that correct?
That is incorrect. You do have to choose the same modes. You're
you
copying
do.
the spell.
Okay.
Yeah, you can choose new targets. You cannot choose new modes.
Got it. But could you, like, out of curiosity, could you ever see exiling one of your own like, if you're that desperate for card draw?
100%. It's not even desperate. It's not even about desperation. Like this, it is. You have so many tokens out. If you just want to, like, making 3 rabbits and drawing a card to exile one of the things that's on your board is a perfectly, because again, if you're copying that's make 6 rabbits, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, for 5 mana.
So.
And 1
really,
creature.
the third mode is remarkably good. It really
it can get you all sorts of stuff.
There's a lot of permanent cards that cost 3 or less in the deck. It is fantastic. Remember, it says permanent, so you can get lands.
Ashnod Altar with an indestructible counter on it.
With an indestructible counter on it. Yes. And it's funny because oftentimes when you see a spell like this, it's bringing it back with like a finality counter. It's bringing it back worse.
Yeah.
This is bringing it back better.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is this is versatile in that, like, it is an interaction piece, and non-land permanent as well. It's hitting just about anything, but it is also doing at least one other thing. Maybe it's exile. Maybe it's getting 2 permanents.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe it's getting 4.
Even if you're getting 2 creatures and drawing 4 cards for 5 mana, that's really, really good, especially in white, right? If it weren't white, like, drawing 4 cards for 5 mana is still pretty solid, but being in white makes that even better. So, what did you pick?
Mine is Will of the Mardu. This is 2 and a white for an instant. Choose 1. If you control a commander as you cast this, you may choose both instead. The first mode creates a number of 1/1 red warrior tokens equal to the number of creatures target player controls. The second mode, Will of the Mardu, deals damage to target creature equal to the number of creatures you control. And remember, if you have both, it is going to resolve the first one before the second one resolves. So you're going to add a couple of creatures before the damage resolves and do more damage. So this is really, it's an effect you see in limited and in standard all the time, a spell that does damage equal to the number of creatures. Not necessarily something that you would prioritize in Commander, but this gets you a lot of tokens for just 3 mana. Oftentimes your opponents are going to have 3, 4, way more than that creatures on board. So being able to go, however many creatures you have, now I have that many, and I'm going to blow up the biggest one on your board.
Tim,
and if I'm copying it, I'm doing it twice.
You can target yourself.
Sure.
So
you can double your own tokens.
Yep, you double your creatures and then you double them again.
Yep.
Pretty gross. And then you're just nuking 2 of their biggest creatures. Yep. So do you think this card is more for the token side than the removal side?
I haven't played the deck enough to be able to answer that. I mean, I would say that when I'm fishbowling it is all like the token. I will fire it off before the commander gets on board for the token generation quite a lot. But we always talk about how it's fantastic when you have something that does both, right? That's something that fits into the single targeted interaction category very firmly, but also moves your game plan forward. And here's a very good example of that. I could be playing with a single targeted interaction spell that is more efficient or more, remove something permanently and isn't based on damage. There's things that are better, but the fact that it does both, if you have your commander, or that you can do one or the other based on the situation, makes it so much better for this list.
Yeah, I like the fact that it has, if you control your commander, you can do both. That makes that card a lot better and actually playable. I think if it didn't have that clause, I don't think it would be nearly as good.
So I think if it didn't have that clause, it would still be in the deck.
Oh, because of the token generation, but like
because of the token generation, yeah.
But
because it's still one of the cheapest rates to do that exact thing.
Right, I agree. Alrighty, so now we're gonna dive into mass interaction, and the card I picked can just end the game. I want to make this perfectly clear. But it also is good relatively early if you want to just get ahead and make everyone miserable. And the card I'm talking about is Torment of Hailfire for X and 2 black. It's a sorcery. It says repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. What makes this really powerful is if you copy it for 30 mana and X is 28, you just win the game because there's not going to be enough tokens. However, if you're casting this for 6 and everyone has to do it for 4, and if you're copying it for that too, like turn 4 you play your commander, turn 5 you do this, it's a one-sided board wipe and it's emptying their hand. And the best thing about it is they can't sacrifice their lands to supplement it, because that's something that a lot of people would do. They would sacrifice a couple of lands just so they can still have cards in their hand so they can still play. Because let me tell you, when you're in top deck mode in a game of Commander on turn 5, you are so far behind. And it gets around indestructible too, because they're sacrificing it too. I love this card.
Yeah, it's one of those cards where if you've played Commander long enough, you've played against this card, and you know you know it, you hate it. Most of us do. It's an expensive card, financially as well, but it just belongs in this list. There's no question. I mean, I think that you have to highly prioritize this card, and there are budget options that you could play instead that are not doing exactly the same thing, but are draining your opponents for a lot of life just as a finisher. But the fact that this inhabits both categories is what makes this a $40 card.
It's crazy how it fits in Witherbloom as well too, because it's just like, oh, I'm going to make it cost 2 black.
Right. So casting this for an enormous amount in whatever deck you're playing, if you have black in your color identity, it is going to be a powerful impact for you as well. So yeah, it just definitely goes in this list, no question.
Alrighty, Tim, what card did you pick?
I love this card, and it's not a card you see a whole heck of a lot, because I don't know if it got a different printing other than the one that I have in here, which is the one from the Clue printing that they did whenever we did the last Ravnica set. So anyway, the card is Afterlife Insurance. This is 1 and a hybrid white or black. So technically 2 mana. It's an instant. It says creatures you control gain Afterlife 1 until end of turn. Draw a card. And that means when a creature with Afterlife 1 dies, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. So as I said earlier, like there's a scenario in which somebody wipes my board with something that does a small amount of damage to everything, and I go, I'm just gonna do this and also casualty it so it gets 2, so all of my creatures now turn into 2 creatures.
That's funny. Well, it also works really good offensively too. Like if you have your Ashnod's Altar, you can just be like, I'm gonna do this, and now I'm so much mana.
You can do this and casualty a spell that sacrifices a creature to draw cards, and then you are increasing the number of creatures that you have, and then draw, when you sacrifice the creature to draw the cards, you are getting more creatures at the end of it. So yeah, it really it works very well in this list.
Yeah.
And again, it's like it's an aristocrat piece. It's actually worth a little money now, even though it's an uncommon, because I think it's only got the 1 printing.
Right.
But it's just perfect for this. It was and instead of making it so my creatures don't die, I go, okay, they could die. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I really wanted to talk about this card, and then because I looked at your deck list before I looked at the script. I'm like, oh, this card's really cool. I can't wait to talk about it. And then I find the script and Tim already picked it. I'm like, oh man. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is we're going to segue into what we call the non-basics. Now that we covered the basics, we're going to go into specific goals and categories for the deck based on the commander. So Tim is going to let us know what the non-basic categories are, and then we'll go from there.
All right, non-basic category number 1, make some sacrifice fodder. This is going to be our permanent base token generators. Non-basic number 2 is use little guys to make more little guys, and this is spell-based token makers. Non-basic 3 is make little guys big, which is how we make all those tokens into actual threats by pumping up the team. And then finally, little guys turn into big spells. What are the big spell-based finishers that we use to actually close out the game? So first up, what is our what are some good permanent base token generators, things that make sacrifice fodder?
Alrighty, so the card that I picked was something that I didn't know existed until today.
But you don't play standard.
I do not play standard at all. And it is Cosmo Grand Zenith. It is a 3 mana, 2 and a white human soldier. And it says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, choose one. You can create 2 1/1 human soldiers, or you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Wow. The words on this card. Now, don't get me wrong. You're only triggering it once each turn, which could be turn per person, because you do run 17 or 18 sorceries. And the cool thing is if you casualty it, you're casting 2 spells. Or does it not cast a copy?
No, the casualty is a copy.
Never mind. Thought it was cooler than it was, but this card's still really cool. I mean, because it will get to the point where it's going to make your team bigger, because you already have 32 tokens. You don't, what's 2 more at this point? Or it's good to play on turn 3 and then go from there to start generating all those tokens. I really like this card a lot.
It's excellent to play on turn 4 if you have a second spell to follow it up.
Oh, so good.
because it is the first spell, so it sees the second spell cast, knows that it's the second spell cast, and you get the tokens. So you're really hoping to do that if it's possible. But later in the game, there are 19 instances in the list, but like a lot of them are cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So there are the big splashy spells, but there's also a great number of spells that are relatively inexpensive, and it counts any kind of spell. So on your turn, at the very least, you could play a mana rock and another spell, and that's your second spell. So it sees any of those things. Yeah, this is it's kind of, it's not the staple that it once was in standard. It definitely had a heyday for a moment. It isn't necessarily near the top right now, but it is a solid card. And at 2/4, I know we don't often talk about power and toughness, as being super relevant, but 4 is an important toughness number. Like 3 and less has a whole lot of things that catch it. 4 gets it out of range of some like minor board wipes that you see that take out the bottom half. So it's got a big butt.
And we do love big butts here.
We do love them.
Now, the card you picked, this is a card that I'm very familiar with because I've ran it in so many different decks. Go ahead and tell them what it is.
It's Monastery Mentor. It's 2 and a white for a 2/2 human monk with prowess. When you cast a non-creature spell, make another 1/1 white monk creature with prowess. So my favorite thing about this is that this is only 50 cents now. They have printed this card into oblivion, which me from 4 years ago that had 5 of these at $20 and then watching it tank was not happy about this. But I am actually really happy that everyone has access to this card, because this is just one of the best token generators out there. And the fact that the things have prowess, they're not triggering on copying spells, but they are triggering on all those casts. And it is totally possible to just build an army of monks that's going to get big enough through their prowess triggers to be a real threat.
Sure is. I just love this card. It was a lot of fun in my Kaikar deck because then I get spirits that I can sacrifice for red mana, and then I can make even more monks, and then they're just getting so massive. Like I think Monastery Mentor was also played in Legacy for a while, and man, I just love this card because I used to watch a lot of Legacy when I was way younger than I am and had more time i.e., without children. But there's something about this card that just sings close to my heart. So
Yeah, and I know it's a bit of a repeat, but I really am glad that it's an affordable card now. I think that people have access to this card and that it's not out of reach is pretty great.
Alrighty, so now we're in the which one? The used little guys to make, huh? Yeah. Call the card that I have to find it. I don't remember where it was. I am so bad at this. I should definitely get better at pulling up the cards prior to, because like I have the whole deck in front of me, but there's just so many cards. Now I'm in the creatures. Where'd it go? There it is. So you used it on us. Spoiler warning. You used it on us in the game, and that's why I actually picked this card over any of the other ones, because there is a lot better versions of this card out there, but I just liked what it did. And it is a 3 mana instant. It has Strive, and this spell costs a white and a generic more to cast for each new target beyond the first. And it says, choose any number of target opponents. Create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures those opponents control. So we talked about a card that kind of does something similar earlier. This is doing pretty much the same thing. You can only choose your opponents. But what I like about it is it's very modal and on how many people you're choosing, right? Because in the example that I'm bringing up is the game that we played. Both me and I think it was Alex or one of us had 3 creatures each. So for 5 mana, you made 6 1/1s. And we weren't like, I wasn't even playing a creature heavy deck. Just imagine if I was playing a deck that was like, I'm going to have 20 creatures on turn 5. And now you're making 20. So the problem with this card is the ceiling is really high, but the floor is 3 mana. It does nothing. So has a high ceiling, but it also has a very low floor.
I mean, I think that in a commander game, like I cannot remember a commander game where, like, I mean, sure, there's moments where there's no creatures, but they don't last long.
No.
And I can think of a commander game where somebody, attacks you with a million creatures all at once, and how this would be a semi-decent response to that.
Yeah, it's like a second ink shield or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that Call the Copper Coats it only targets opponents, but you can get all 3 of your opponents with it. And I do think that when you look at other things like Secure the Waste that are instant speed token generating spells, you are limited by the amount of mana that you can put into it. Right. And in this case, you're only spending 3 for the first if you're just targeting one person. And like you said, if it's somebody who has an enormous amount of creatures, you are now benefiting from their thing in a significant way. So I think the mana cost of this really makes it a solid choice.
All right. So I have the question for you. At what point are you starting to want to cast this spell? Like, so you did it for 6 for 5. Like, at what point is it like, how much money or how much mana are you willing to invest to get what number of creatures? This is a really deep question. And so like, is 6 like the minimum that you want to make, or are you trying to like spend?
Because you have to get started at some point. Like, this is an incremental value deck, so you have to sling the first token generating spell early so that you have stuff to do. So it depends on the situation. Like, if somebody had 2 creatures and I had 3 mana up on my end step going into my turn, I'm probably popping this for
just because you have the mana to do it.
Just because you have the mana to do it, and then you have 2 token creatures to get started, because so many of the other spells, like the one I'm about to talk about, care about how many creatures you already have on board. So you want to make sure that you are getting that number up as quickly as possible. It's actually similar to Witherbloom in that way.
Right. All right, Tim, what's the card you picked?
So my token or my spell-based token maker, there's a lot of really good options here, and I chose this one because I think it's hilarious, and it's Moogle's Valor. This is 5 mana for an instant. It says for each creature you control, create a 1/2 white Moogle creature token with lifelink. Then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn.
Man, that last line
So
is pretty awesome.
it is, isn't it? And it's like it's expensive, no question about it. Like 5 mana is a lot, but really what this deck is trying to do is it's trying to set up a board where you have you have some number of creatures already on board, and you're kind of incrementally generating those creatures with like static effects like Bitter Blossom or things like that are just pumping out a token every turn. And then you get your commander out, you wait a turn cycle, you wait until just the right moment to pop something like Moogle's Valor, and now all of a sudden I go from having 5 creatures on board, I sacrifice one for casualty, and now all of a sudden I have 12, and 8 of them are life-linking Moogles.
I mean, it's
Like
adorable.
that's the kind of thing that this can do. And honestly, like I think it's worth noting that this is one of the most powerful tokens that you can actually create because it has lifelink.
That
Because
lifelink is surprisingly important.
it really is. And once you get these big, once you have an effect that's going to make them bigger, they are like they're such a threat with that lifelink if their power gets higher. So I'm a big fan of this card. Also, great budget option.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like this card a lot. And when I inevitably make another token deck where it has X or like white and X or whatever, it's definitely a card that I want to consider because even just the protection piece of giving all your creatures indestructible afterwards is really incredible because like you can run cards like Teferi's Protection and all that stuff, and that's fine and dandy and all, but like when I'm running cards, I don't necessarily want to pick the staples that go well in every deck. I'm trying to pick cards that do similar things but also benefit the strategy I'm trying to do a lot of the time. Now, sometimes I'm just like, let's jam that power, but especially for this podcast in general, I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to make unique versions of the deck and so on and so forth. This is a really cool card that I'm definitely going to have to keep on the back of my mind to use in the future. Alrighty, so now we're going into the make the little guys big. So the card that I picked was Doll Maker Shop and Porcelain Gallery, and of course I have to read it sideways because it is a door or a room. Sorry. So the first part of the room, Doll Maker Shop, is a 2-mana enchantment. It's a 1 and a white, and it says whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. Pretty sweet, right? And then for 6, it says creatures you control have base power and toughness each equal to the number of creatures you control. I mean, you can spring this just out of nowhere. Like you have 15 creatures, and then you pay 6 mana, and now all your creatures are 15/15s. Imagine if they were Moogles that had lifelink. Really good stuff. I like the idea that it can be sprung out of nowhere, or it could also early on start that token generation that you're looking to get. So it fits in both places really, really well. And that's what we're looking for in our cards. We want to be able to do things before and after our commander. This is something that we've been bringing up a lot lately. And this is a card that kind of fits that category really, really well.
Yeah, I love this card. I'm a big fan of it. And again, I've seen, it was hot in standard for a sweet minute and technically is still in standard right now, although I haven't seen it in a while. It's important to note that with Dollmaker's Shop, you can get multiple triggers from it if you're attacking multiple players. You're just getting 1 toy for each player that you attack. But really, like getting 3 tokens, if you can manage to get 3 attacks in, like this works really well with Bitter Blossom.
Yeah.
Or with Bitter Bloom Bearer, like anything that's making flying tokens tokens is going to allow you to start getting extra toys. And really, 6 mana for Porcelain Gallery, not hard to get to.
No.
So like as I said before, if I'm popping one of these instant speed token generators on your end step, and now all of a sudden I have 8 Moogles, and then on my turn I'm slamming Porcelain Gallery, now all my Moogles are 10/10 with lifelink, and I have 8 of them. How's that?
I love it.
Mm.
I love that for you, not for me, because I'm probably dying by getting smashed by Moogles.
So my choice for the pumping up the team is a card that I've never played before, but I saw it on as a consideration for this list, and it's a little bit of a non-bo because it's not an instant or a sorcery, but I just really think that the ceiling of it is so worth having. The card is called Champions from Beyond. It's from the Final Fantasy precons. It's X and 2 white. It's an enchantment. When it enters, create X 1/1 colorless hero creature token. So it's an early game creature token generator. And then it has 2 different activated abilities. The first one is Light Party. These are both references to Final Fantasy XIV, by the way. Light Party, when you attack with 4 or more creatures, scry 2, then draw a card. Full Party, when you attack with 8 or more creatures, those creatures get +4/+4 until end of turn.
So if you attack with the 8, you get both triggers, right?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. So let's not forget that this spell actually only costs 2.
Yes. That's crazy.
So if you've already got 8 or more creatures on board, you can just pay 2 and put this onto the battlefield, and now your team is all going to get a +4/+4 when they attack. So
That's
really,
crazy.
I think it's very strong in any kind of token strategy. So again, if you feel like you've got space for it, this is a fantastic way to pump up a token team, in a way that might be unexpected. It is a permanent, so your opponents can interact with it. But if you get the attack trigger off, they're +4/+4 until end of turn, like triggers on the stack.
Yeah, this card to me feels a lot like that Changeling enchantment that gives all your that's what this card feels like a lot to me, where it's like it can be used just for its cost, just to do the thing that it's supposed to do, but it can also make a buttload of tokens if you needed to as well.
That's right. That's the green, the new one that yeah. It's just an enchantment that does a thing that does 2 static things, but it also, you can pump X mana into it and generate a bunch of tokens.
Yeah, it's really great. I like it a lot. Alrighty, so now we're getting to the game-ending cards. And the card that I picked, clearly I picked a better one earlier, but I wanted to talk about it in the board wipe section because we all know it's the same. The card I picked was Amiri's Call. It is 4 and 3 white. It's a sorcery. It says create 2 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying. Non-angel creature tokens you control gain indestructible until your next turn. So like overall, it doesn't seem like a lot, but let's make this perfectly clear. You will be copying the spell. So for 7 mana and 1 creature, you are making 4 8/8s, or I'm sorry, 4 4/4s with flying, and you have indestructible until your next turn. So even like, oh, we got a board wipe because blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you'll lose your angels, but everything else is fine. I like this card a lot. Like when I first looked at it, and also it's a land on the other side.
Yeah, it's an MBFC. So.
Yeah, it's a land on the other side that you like. Worst case, it's like early in the game, I'm struggling to hit my land drops. You're playing this, and but again, 4 4/4s is nothing to shake a stick at. That's a lot of power for only 7 mana.
Yeah, and the marginal cost, like the marginal cost of putting this in the deck is practically 0.
Yep.
Like this takes up a land spot because it's one of the MDFCs that you can pay 3 life to have it come in untapped. So it's not even a tap land. Like it is like it's practically no cost to put this in your deck other than the $5 for the card. But really this is actually one of the best top end spells that you're going to cast in this list for the reasons that you've already described, because getting that Air Force if you've got anything that's increasing their power, anything that's doubling the number of tokens that you're getting, any of those things that might also be in the list, this looks a lot scarier, because 4/4/4s is pretty scary. 4/10/10s is a bit scarier.
I was about to say, just imagine if you have a full party and
yeah, and suddenly they're 8/8s.
Suddenly they're 8/8s.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to see if they had like vigilance, just to be like, hey, we're making Sarah angels or whatever.
Yeah, I think I would have
been a flavor one.
Agrees with that.
But we can't always get what we want. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tim's about to get everything he wants with his next pick.
Again, this is one of those situations where I must admit I didn't know this card existed, and I'm so happy that it does, and that it has this very ridiculous interaction with this list. So the card is Temporal Extortion. This is 4 black mana for a sorcery that says when you cast this spell, any player may pay half of their life rounded up. If a player does, counter this. And you take an extra turn after this one. So it's a black card that probably doesn't give you an extra turn. But wait, when you cast this with Casualty, the copy doesn't have the first line of text because you didn't cast it. So that thing that happens is a cast trigger. So when you cast Temporal Extortion with Casualty, you get a copy of it that goes on the stack that just says, Take an extra turn. This one. And then Temporal Extortion. So you're going to take an extra turn. The question is, are you going to take 2? And so somebody at the table has to take one for the team and take half of their life, or I'm going to take 2. I'm going to take 2 consecutive turns after this one, where if I untap with my stuff, it's going to be bad news for everybody. I was so happy to have been able to play this card in the gameplay video that we did, because I don't almost never play with extra turn spells, but the flavor of this one being a black extra turn spell was like that. It's exactly where I wanted to be. So amazing in the list.
Yeah, I mean, that whole bit was really, really funny because he ended up not getting any extra turns. But here's the scary thing about this card is the danger is if you give him 2 extra turns, the damage that you're taking for the first one is probably going to be less than what you're going to take if he has 2 extra turns. Because there's going to be so many tokens, there's going to be so much pumping, it's going to be unreal. And pay half your life, people.
Pay it. Do it. Don't let me take an extra turn.
Oh, well, I mean, he's going to get 1, unless if there's an offer
unless
you can't
there's a blue
refuse.
Player at the table.
No, I definitely could refuse any offer if it meant I was taking an extra turn. All right, so we're going to go ahead and segue into our honorable mentions. And this category is, we have a lot of cards that we want to talk about. And there's certain cards that don't necessarily fit in any of the categories that we brought up, but we want to talk about them anyway because we love talking about Magic cards. And the card you picked is spicy, Tim. In fact,
I changed.
I'm going to have to drink a gallon of milk
all the time. Yeah, I do this all the time when we're recording, that I change my honorable mention while we're talking because I realize that I talk about the other card all the time. And, this card is objectively powerful. Obviously a card that you would want in just about any list. And it's just such it's not a game changer technically, but in this list, it feels like it.
Sure does.
The card is Elspeth Stormslayer. So this is a 5-mana planeswalker, starts with 5 loyalty, has static text that reads, if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead. And it doesn't care about what kind of tokens, creature tokens, treasures, what have you. You're just doubling up your tokens altogether. Elspeth also +1s to make white soldier tokens, has a 0 ability that puts a +1/+1 counter on every creature you control and gives them flying. And then it has a -3 that destroys a creature of mana value 3 or greater. So this is one of the most versatile planeswalkers that's ever been printed. It is fantastic in a tokens deck. It is expensive at 30 $36+ at this point, but worth absolutely every penny. It is so good in this list as a finisher, as a token facilitator, as a single targeted interaction. It is the Swiss Army knife for this deck, and while it is not an instant or sorcery, it still deserves its spot in the list for sure.
Yeah, that card's kind of spicy. It pumps your team, it doubles your tokens, it makes tokens. It is very good at doing what Planeswalkers want to do in Commander, and the fact that it has a static ability just makes it that much better.
So much better. Yep.
So the card that I wanted to talk about it's a fun card. It is I'm not going to die right now. And the card I picked is Ink Shield. It is 3, a black and a white, instant. It says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. For each 1 damage prevented this way, create a 2/1 flying black and white inkling creature token. So you double it, you're getting double the number of 2/1 flyers, and you're going to make a lot. Now, I don't know how much combat damage that you are going to be taking if you have a lot of creatures, but you never know. Someone might be going wider than you, and now they're not.
I think that like this is another one of those examples where you would usually hold this card up and like late in the game as a way of fizzling your opponent's lethal attack. But I think that you can be more aggressive with it in this list, because even if somebody were to swing at me with a 6/6, paying 5 mana to prevent that 6 damage and create 6 2/1 inklings is remarkable. Because then if I then can turn around and drop something like Champions from Beyond and end up with 8 attackers, now they're 6s. Now they're 6/5s. Like there's such a great opportunity. The number gets so high, yeah. It does, and I think that just having a bunch of flying inklings is good enough.
It's good enough.
So I think that you could be a little bit more aggressive with it. So it is definitely a mass interaction spell, but I think that you could actually, because you asked that question earlier, like what is the minimum amount that you would want? And really, like for Ink Shield, like if somebody was attacking me for 4 early in the game, I might consider it. Like 4 2/1 flyers early in the game.
Yeah. I mean, because what the cool thing about it is it's doubling the amount of power that got through to you, right? So the math with this card, it just changes everything.
It's not even a Quandrix card.
I know, it's ridiculous. We're gonna be arguing about this card all night, aren't we?
No, because now we go to our final card gushing category of the night, which is cards to consider. What are some things that we could potentially add to this deck to make it even more fun? So what do you got?
So I might want to cheat. I don't know if you saw that I kind of changed.
Always cheat.
I know, but do I talk about both? Do I talk about one? It's a tough choice because anyway, we're just going to talk about the original card that I picked, because we already talked about Elspeth and we don't need to talk about Sun's Champion either, but I did mention it. So the card that I'm going to talk about is Saram's Expertise. For 2 and 2 white, you can create 3 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature tokens, and then it says you may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. What I like about this is if you copy it, you're getting 6 mana's worth of value for only 4. And getting 6 creatures is also pretty awesome. But if it's early on, just cast this on turn 4, get your 3 creatures, and get a 3-drop too. There's a lot of great other things that you want to cast anyway. And and I think the benefit of copying it is way better than copying some of the like Lingering Souls or something like that. Because Lingering Souls is in the list, but just imagine if you Saram's Expertise, you can then cast Lingering Souls on top of it. So there's just a lot of great cards that you're going to want to copy or cast for free anyway that cost 3 or less in your list. And I mean, 3 creatures for 4 mana is also a relatively decent rate when you're getting a free 3-drop out of it as well.
It's true. I think it's a great choice. I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember considering it. And I wonder what I would take out to, because it is sorcery speed is the only downside. But like, especially when you describe what's going to happen when you copy it, like I'm
Hmm.
really kind of sold there. That's really solid because there is a lot of three casting cost spell. Because does it only allow you to cast permanent spells or just
No,
cast
just
spell?
cast a spell that costs 3 or less.
See, that makes it way, way better because
Way
then you
good.
follow it up with something else that, like, draws you cards or does damage or is just another permanent. That's pretty interesting.
Honestly, I could see something like I know Ophiomancer is a really, really good card. Like, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, I know it's good. But you like the aristocrat deck that you're building isn't necessarily sacrificing that snake every turn. Because what makes it really good is if you have a free sack a Seer or something of its ilk. Even like, I mean, I guess you could do it with like Warren Soul Tender and just get 4 mana every turn. But what makes that card really good is when you can sacrifice it every turn, not turn cycle. But I could see
Yeah,
something like that.
I could get there with the Theomancer. As far as the like, creating a single token each turn, like that's fine, but there are things that do it better.
Right,
And
because it's
actually
not creating a token every turn if you control a snake. So you
right.
have to
I
get
mean,
rid of that token. It's not
I'll
accumulating
actively
more
disagree
tokens.
that I'm not. I'll actively disagree that I'm not sacrificing something every turn. I'm sacrificing something every turn, like that. Like I'm getting a snake every turn. But the point is that like you have to get rid of the old snake in order to get the next
Right.
one. So you can't stockpile them
Right.
like you can fairies or monks or whatever else you're getting. So
Sure.
are only getting one at a time. So the opportunity to stockpile them and sit on them for a little bit is much less. So yeah, it's a solid choice as far as what to maybe take out.
Also, I've just been burned by that Ophiomancer, or like I've had it in decks, and it's just like, man, either I'm not getting the
You get
sacrifice atlas
you get
enough.
grudges against cards.
Oh, I
You
do.
do.
I
Like
do. Oh,
you like call out other people's cards and you go, that is a bad card because it has burned me before. You do it
yeah.
all the time.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Take things so
And
personal.
I say that not to be mean with the card that they picked. It's, man, sometimes a card just gets under my skin, and there's nothing I can do but bash it.
It's Animus Awakening.
Alrighty, Tim. What card did you pick?
I had a couple that I wanted to talk about, but I landed on Moment of Reckoning, and I actually I don't know how I didn't end up with this in the list. I'm fairly certain that it started, and I was just making cuts and making cuts and making cuts, and it's so expensive that I think that that's what probably turned me away from
Mhm.
it. So this is another new Secrets of Strixhaven card. It is a Silverquill card. It is 3, 2 white, and 2 black, so total of 7. Sorcery. Choose up to 4. You may choose the same mode more than once, and the modes are destroy target non-land permanent or return target non-land permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I think that that this could take the place of a mass interaction spell because even if you're just casting it without copying it, you are removing the 4 most significant non-land permanents from the battlefield. If you are copying it, you are probably removing maybe 6 non-land permanents and reanimating 2. Like it's just such a huge value swing that I think that it's definitely as far as big spells go, this one's pretty significant.
Yeah, I see. Here's the thing. I don't know if I like it if you're not copying it as much. Like, don't get me wrong, destroying 3 things and reanimating 1 or reanimating 4 things for 7 mana, that also seems pretty good too. I just kind of would want a little bit more from it. And
Reanimating 4
yeah,
things for 7
reanimating
mana?
4 things is a lot. Non-land permanent card. Oh, see, it's not even just creatures. Never mind. I like this card a lot.
Yeah, it's and I think that you're right that like for 7 mana in Commander, that not copying this is like okay, it's decent, right? It's
Yeah.
probably, and really, there's definitely moments where removing the four most problematic things on the board is a significant swing.
It's true.
But when you copy this beast,
Holy.
like, holy crap. Like, because, you are either bringing your entire graveyard back into the battlefield, or you're removing all of the most significant threats, or a little bit of both. So I really like this. I actually, just looking at the list, I could see, I do like having at least a couple of like actual factual board wipes. So I don't know that I would run a removal board wipe.
No, I don't think I would want to either.
Maybe there's an individual removal spell that could be removed for this, but who knows? I think it's definitely a good card to consider.
Yeah, I'm going through the list now, and I'm trying to see what you would pull. Like, here's the thing. Like, there's this one. That card's really good. Never mind. I was reading this card and I'm like, why are you running this card? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, when this creature dies, draw a card. No, I get it now. Because I was like, why are you running such a weird combat trick in this list? I was really confused.
Why is this tiny 2-mana rabbit attack? Why are you running this tiny 2-mana combat trick? Yeah, because it makes every creature draw you a card when they die.
You know what I would get rid of? I'm not a huge fan of the Emeritus of Woe. Just because what makes Demonic Tutor good is that it only costs 2 mana.
No,
so like
you're the fact that you're just wrong. You're just wrong about this one.
Also, I don't like running tutors as much, right? Like,
I mean, like, I love running tutors that are deliberately conditional. So Emeritus of Woe is slow for sure. I actually think that Emeritus of Truce is the one that's actually kind of bunk. I think the
I didn't even read this one.
Bad. It's Swords to Plowshares, but you have to when it enters, you give somebody an inkling, either you or somebody else, and then if a player has more creatures than you, it gets prepared. So
I could see getting rid of that for sure.
It's very conditional as far as, and actually it's counted amongst the single targeted interaction. So this would be a good spot to pull. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the white one.
Yeah. No, I could see removing the white one, but the only problem is when you're doing something like that, how much are you affecting your mana curve when you're removing a 3-drop and adding a 7-drop? That's something that is a little scary when doing something like that.
What's a mana curve?
Oh, are we supposed to look at those things when we're building decks? I don't know.
Yeah, look at my curve. It's not doing nothing to take a 3 out and put a 7 in. This curve is perfect.
Perfect. I'm actually scrolling down.
We're done. Let's wrap it up. Friends, opponents, for the first time, maybe ever, I've run out of stuff to say. How's that? Thanks, anyway, for spending time with us on the Head Games Commander podcast. Remember, you can support the show, all of our other content, by watching this and our other videos on our YouTube page. You can check out the recent gameplay video featuring this commander. You find those links in the description.
But before we scoop things up, we want to hear from you, the think tank. What cards would you play in Silverquill, the Dispute? What commanders would you like to see us build and spotlight in the future? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for playing along with us. And have a wonderful day. And I'm not going to argue about this. Have a wonderful day.